Hello and welcome to the Phoenix 5 Info Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Vince Lewis with the Phoenix Police Public Affairs Bureau, coming to you once again from Phoenix Police Headquarters in beautiful downtown Phoenix with my co-host, PIO Sergeant Rob Scherer. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, boss. Good to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm here too, especially because Chief DeCastro is
Because
here.
of our guest?
Yes.
What a transition.
Huh? It went
Great
right to
lead
it.
in. Let's jump right into our special guest here, Assistant Chief Ed DeCastro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I'm glad you both are here too.
Tell us real quick, you are over the division, the investigations division, right?
Correct. So all reports go to a detective at some point, and so I oversee all the detectives.
Okay, and that could be homicide or violent crimes or family crimes or property crimes, basically anything that either a first responder is handed over to an investigative unit. Sometimes they'll take originals, sometimes investigations branch in several different ways. You've got some experience in that area, right, with your time in robbery?
Yep. Been able to work around Chief DeCastro once or twice and hung out on a few things. Yeah, it involves basically anything that we're going to do any kind of follow-up investigation on.
And I want to take a sidebar real quick because we've done a profile on you with our social media team talking about what you did before. We call it Before the Badge.
Yeah.
It's available on our social media channels. Your story is unique, and tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah. Well, I used to be a teacher over in Isaac Middle School for 35th Avenue in McDowell when I first came to Arizona. And after about 4 years, I decided that I wanted to do something different, but still wanted to give back to the community. The SRO there at the time was a good friend of mine. He said, "I think you'd be a really good cop." And I said, "You know what? I had thought about doing that in the past." And literally the next day, he came with an application. I filled it out. 3 months later, I had been accepted to the academy, and then I started in August of that year.
It's awesome.
So, but then I found out later on that one of the reasons why he did it was because he got PA time.
That's special awarded time
Yeah.
for a recruiting incentive that we give our employees. Excellent. All right, well, let's dive into today's topic. We're going to talk about the 2024 Phoenix Police Crime Plan. Now, this is a re-up of the crime plan that Chief Sullivan introduced in the 2023 year, but and at the time, Police Chief Sullivan gave us a directive to attack 4 focus areas that we were looking at the time. I'll go over them briefly. We were looking at trying to identify and address the most violent people, the most active places, prohibited possessors, and violent offenders with outstanding arrest warrants. But he's recently come out and giving us new direction to not only redouble our efforts on those focus areas, but added 2 new focus areas: fentanyl-related crime and disorder and juvenile violent crime. You had a chance to interview with some media outlets and just talk with the community and things. How have we seen this change go from last year to this year with these new added efforts? How is that changing our focus or our tactics?
Well, like you said, we're staying with the 4 main focus areas that we found last year. But in the course of our investigations last year, we found that there was 2 other areas that you had mentioned, the fentanyl and the juvenile crime, that skyrocketed, honestly, last year. And so we knew that for this year, we needed to add those to our crime focus with patrol officers and investigations because it was becoming a little bit out of control. So the fentanyl component of it is we are working with the health department to create a dashboard for everybody to kind of see what's going on. We are also working with DEA to try to get a little bit more undercover work to try to find some of the large packages of drugs that we're seeing come across the border. Since 2019 to now, we've seen an explosion of fentanyl pills coming from everywhere. And because Phoenix is a major hub from coming across the border, we get a lot of that. We get a lot of that within the city itself. The juvenile issue has become a huge problem because of the amount of guns that are out there. And the juveniles are being able to have access to guns. They're going to large parties, and then things happen from there when they start drinking or taking drugs or whatever the case may be. So we're trying to focus on that by having some of the SROs go out to schools throughout the year, talk to some of the kids about what are the repercussions of these things. From a drug side as well as from a gun side, we have seen this year alone many kids being shot, robberies going up, and many kids don't know how to use a gun. So they're accidentally shooting people and sometimes killing them because they don't know what they're doing and they think it's make-believe is what I believe.
Yeah. Before we get to a couple other stats and some goals moving forward with those two topics and the other ones, let's touch a little bit on last year's and the successes coming forward. We have a deal for you to kind of touch base with, but the goals of 5% and 8%, 5% violent crime decrease, 8% property crime. Didn't quite reach the 5% of violent crime, but we had 8 crimes, 4 in violent crime, 4 in property crime as a barometer to kind of test ourselves against. And even though we didn't get that 5% decrease, all 4 in violent crime went down. Speak to some of those efforts and speak to some of the things as a department we were successful in last year.
Yeah, so we did have our goal of a 5% reduction in violent crimes. We got to 4%, which is still a tremendous effort, especially given the fact that our staffing has been reduced. It's a testament to the officers and the amount of work that they've been doing out there. The detectives and our apprehension teams going out there and actually catching those violent offenders. So I think we're doing a really good job of making sure that we are staying on top of it. We have a crime reduction plan in the 27th Avenue corridor. So that's been a huge focus for us as far as trying to reduce a bulk of the crime that's happening there. We've increased our technology, which is a major component as to why our stats are so good. So we've started the real-time operations center in Cactus Park Precinct, and we are starting one in the Desert Horizon Precinct. So between the cameras, the license plate readers, the gunshot detections, plus actually having personnel to be able to watch all the cameras and the drones and everything else that we have, it has been a huge force multiplier for us to be able to go out and catch criminals, sometimes while they're committing the act, and the police are even called.
That's the real-time beauty of it, right?
Yes, yeah. It's pretty amazing to go there and see what we've created, and we can actually go back in time and watch what somebody has done, even though they are telling us they did nothing, and we can literally see what they're doing. So it's been a real game changer.
Yeah, transitioning back to this year, and it's funny on these podcasts, just to go back, I went back on my brain just now, stay with me. But we always kind of lean on the intelligence-based stuff, and I think these 2 new areas, that real-time operations center will help with the juvenile crime, but the fentanyl, you started about a database and building that intelligence to really, as a group, as a whole, with all the entities that we have, to really attack this epidemic, because it's not just a Phoenix Police Department issue. I mean, I see some of these fentanyl numbers, and in this crime reduction plan, just 4 years ago, 317,000 pills were seized, and we had over 4.5 million last year. That's a wild influx, which leads to that it's not just a us problem. Speak to some of the goals that we're going to have just on fentanyl, just within the department, and obviously building those relationships and starting that intelligence stuff.
So one of the things outside of just the normal investigative type programs that we have of catching people that are trying to transport drugs across the border or into the state and things like that, one of the more creative ways that we're trying to combat that is whenever we have an overdose, and we know that it is from fentanyl or meth or something like that, we are trying to actually backtrack to see where that person purchased that drug from, and then we try to investigate that person and bring that person to jail for selling them the drug. And so we're trying to kind of level up to dealers that are causing a lot of these overdoses to pretty unsuspected people that are taking them. One of the biggest issues that we're having with fentanyl is the fact that it's unregulated, obviously, and the quantity that is within each pill is wildly different. So one pill that can give you, a great feeling, the next time you take it will kill you, literally. And it's because it just has 4 times as much fentanyl than the first time, and you didn't know that. Or sadly, it's the first 10 times that you take it, it's fine. It's that 11th time. And so if we can try to find the people that are selling those, then we take them off the street. It's one less thing that we have to worry about.
That's amazing. So we're talking with Assistant Chief Ed DeCastro about the 2024 crime reduction plan. I want to touch on violent crimes and gun crimes really quickly. We've got 2 amazing groups assets to the department that if you could just touch on them real briefly, the Crime Gun Intelligence Unit and the Non-Fatal Shoot Team.
Yeah. So the non-fatal shoot team is a new unit that we created last year, and it pretty much goes out to every type of, or every call where a bullet pierced skin. So somebody is shot, but they're not killed. And they go out and they will investigate all of those to see what happened and what we can accomplish from that. And
because a non-fatal shooting is a potential homicide or an intended homicide.
Correct. And so the idea behind that was, we know when that's a homicide, somebody is killed. But when they're not killed, doesn't mean that that wasn't the intention. It just means that they happen to survive. And so we take it just as seriously and we investigate it as seriously as a homicide, so that we don't get the second time when it does become a homicide. So we've instituted that, which has been a huge success for us. And then the Crime Gun Intelligence Unit is, sometimes they're magic. I don't even know how they do things sometimes, but they will take all the gun crimes that we have. They incorporate ballistics, casing information from our NIBIN database, and they will relate all of the guns that are used in crimes across the city, not just, across the whole valley, not just the city. So we've had guns come in from Glendale that are used in Phoenix, that are used in Tempe, and we're able to hone the information down to be able to see if there's commonalities between all of them, to be able to find somebody who is what we call the trigger puller.
They say that each ballistic component or each piece of ballistic evidence is a gold nugget that potentially unlocks multiple cases, if not just one serious case.
Yeah. And so to that point, patrol now, when they go out and we get a call of shots fired, even if nobody is around, they collect all the casings and we put all those casings into our system that many times down the line we'll come back and we'll have information from the shots fired call to try to add to what we already have.
Great. So Rob, why don't you run down the 5 goals for the 2024 crime reduction plan for us real quick?
Yes, so this new crime reduction plan is going to have 5 set out goals. Same goal number 1 as last year, reducing violent crime by 5% and property crime by 8%. An increase of apprehensions for sale and distribution of fentanyl and meth by 3%. Reducing that juvenile violent crime we've talked about by a total of 5%, if not more. And then increasing technology, specifically those real-time operation centers and how those can affect all crime for that matter. And then the final goal, increasing the use of the Traffic Bureau motors, which we've done some 5-0s in the past on, to really combat speed and lower those fatals and serious collisions.
Excellent. So great collaboration with the community. We've got our focus plan set out before us. We've got a tremendous amount of talent and experience out there leading not only the teams, but the first responders on the street. Yeah. Boss, I want to thank you for your time.
Sure.
Assistant Chief Ed DeCastro over the Investigations Division. We can pull up the crime plan, the 2024 updated crime plan, when you go to phoenix.gov/police. Yeah. And thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Excellent. I just want to thank the audience for listening, thank the crew for producing, and remind everybody that you too can help solve crime in your community and potentially earn a cash reward by sending tips to Silent Witness. Visit silentwitness.org and call 480-WITNESS. Visit us on all social media platforms. Follow us, like us, subscribe to us, love us. We're hiring. Go to joinphxpd.com. And remember, we're all in this together.